Hey everyone. You know, everybody's been talking about this. ESPN, the president himself, and even Off the Rope Show, TRS Central, and Schleg Daddy, Jeff Siegel, and probably among many others. But a lot of people have been chiming in on this, and I figured, hey, what the heck, I'm a sports fan, I'll chime in as well. And that is, should the Washington Redskins change their name? Yeah. That's the topic that's been going on for the past few weeks. Should the Washington Redskins change their team name? We already know that they tried to change their logo, and that didn't work. Yeah, they tried to go with the Seminole logo, just like you see at Florida State. That didn't work. Although I'm still sure they have those as alternate uniforms if they want to use them, but yeah, that didn't work. People didn't like seeing the traditional, more recognizable logo gone for just arrows. That didn't work. But I'm sure they still have it somewhere. Probably still use it on occasions if they want to. But the thing is, should they change their name? You know what? That's kind of like almost asking the Cleveland Indians and the Atlanta Braves to change their names. Or the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, honestly, if you have people at an Indian, if you have a lot of Native Americans, Indians, if you will, Native Americans, again, let's just say you have several tribes out there that are okay. You have several tribes that, according to that Steven guy on ESPN First Take, if you got numerous tribes that are okay with the Redskins name, that support the Redskins, if you have several Native Americans that do, then what's the big deal? Huh? What's the big deal? Huh? You know, what's the big deal? If you have Native American tribes, hold on for a sec. But if you have Native American tribes that are okay with this, and according to what this guy said on ESPN First Take, that is a huge majority, then what's the problem? I'll tell you what it is. It's not the Native Americans. It's not the tribes, if you will. Or anything like that. You know what it is? It's politics. It's trying to gain favor. You see, Obama, you think the guy's got enough stuff on his table, right? He's got enough crap on his table. Then now he wants to go out and throw this as a suggestion, saying if he owned the Redskins, he would change the name? Why? To gain favoritism? That sounds like somebody that, whether you like the guy or not, whether you support Obama or not, sounds like a guy that's trying to gain favoritism for a possible third term, even though you can only have two. And that's just trying to gain favoritism with people that are turning their backs on him right now. That's mainly what it is. I mean, why would you want to throw away nearly 100 years of franchise history under this name just because some Native Americans find it offensive, some tribes find it offensive? Because you want to gain favoritism. Especially that's with someone like Obama. You want to gain favoritism. I mean, look, I respect the fact that he's our president. I respect the fact that he's doing probably the best job he can. Considering a lot of people might think he might go down as not one of the best presidents we've had, but he's trying to do a fairly good job. in the eyes of some. And God, and like my mom has said, God has a reason for him being there. He has a purpose for him being there. But the point is, when you go out and you're the leader of the country, you're the commander-in-chief of our country, and you say that if you owned that franchise, you would change the name. It's not about the fact, to me, it's not about the fact that it offends people. And I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm sure it does. I'm not saying it doesn't, because I'm sure it does. Obviously it does, I should say. Because obviously it does. And I'm not saying I'm sure it does. I'm saying obviously it does offend some Native Americans and some tribes. But still, if you have a huge majority of Native Americans, you have a huger majority, if you have a more massive majority of Native American tribes that support the Redskins and don't really have a problem with the team name, mostly what you're trying to do is gain favoritism. Now, the question is, if they decided to change it, would it hurt the team? Well, a lot of fans wouldn't be used to it. A lot of fans would be angry about it. But I don't, and yeah, it'd take a lot of getting used to, but you know what? It wouldn't be the first time a team's changed their name. No. It wouldn't be the first time a team has changed their name, whether they've moved from a different city or not, or a different location or not. It wouldn't be the first time they've done this. A lot of teams have done this. A lot of teams have done this. In every sport that you can think of. I'll give you an example. The NBA. The NBA had originally the Washington Wizards were the Washington Bullets. What happened? They changed their name to Wizards. People got a little upset, sure, but they got used to it. They're saying, okay, it's just a name change, but they're still in town. That's fine. That's fine. No, that's fine. Whatever. But then, here's another thing. The Nets. The New Jersey Nets are now the Brooklyn Nets, right? The name stayed the same, but they just moved to a different location and got different colors. But they're still the Nets. They didn't change anything. But then you take a look at, the Charlotte Hornets. They went from Charlotte to New Orleans, and for a while were the New Orleans Hornets, and now the Hornets, they're done. The Hornets name is gone. And what is it going to be? Of all names? The New Orleans Pelicans? Seriously? And Charlotte, they got a team back, but instead of going back with Charlotte Hornets, which they could now if they wanted to, it's the Charlotte Bobcats. You see? Teams change their names, and sometimes it upsets fans, but fans eventually get used to it because it's being done for the better. It's being done for business sometimes, and that's why it's done. You take a look, at what could have been potentially disastrous for this region where I live in. The NBA team that's closest to where I am living is the Sacramento Kings. And we were this close to losing the Kings to Seattle. And you know what would have happened? Seattle would have gained the Kings, and the Kings probably would have gone and changed the names to Sonics or Supersonics, whatever you want to call them. Basically, the Kings would have been the Kings would have turned into a resurrected Seattle Supersonic team. But that didn't happen, but still, it was a possibility. See, the point is, team name changes have happened throughout history. Throughout sports history, name changes have happened. Like I said, name changes have happened. Happened, if you will. Team name changes have happened. Either it's just been for the team. I mean, even if it's just the team staying in town, but just changing their name or moving to a little different location and then changing their name later down the line or when they move there. I mean, take a look at the Seattle Supersonics, if you will. When they left Seattle, when the original Sonics team left Seattle and went to Oklahoma City, they could have stayed the Sonics. They could have been the Oklahoma City Sonics. But no, they went from there and said, you know what, we're going to change it and become the Thunder. And that's what they did. They changed the names, they changed the colors, they changed the locale. It's not the first time. And it won't be the last. Teams do this. Whether they stay in the same location, the same city or not, they do this. And sometimes for fans that follow the team, even if they go to a different location, it takes a while for them to get used to the new team name and sometimes even the new location. So would it hurt if possibly the Redskins had to change their names? Possibly, but it would be a hurt that wouldn't last too long. In my opinion, if they had to change their names, yes, it would hurt the fans, hurt the fan base for quite some time. But you know what? It's a hurt that they would get over because as long as they can keep, let's say, the team colors of the Redskins, despite what their name may be, to them, those colors still represent who they really are. I mean, you could say, okay, let's say you want to rename them the Washington 76ers. Yeah, get a 76ers football team if you want to. Or the Washington Presidents. Whatever you want to call them, right? Or, let's see, what other name you could think of? The Washington Hawks. Or the Washington Eagles. There you go. Oh, wait a minute, there is an Eagles team. My bad. But more like the Washington Hawks, if you will. Or the Washington Americans, whatever you want to call them. You know. Or let's say the Washington Hawks, if you will. Or the Washington Sailors. Just throwing some names out there. As long as you kept the colors of the Redskins, of what they had as the Redskins, despite logo change and logo and name change, as long as you kept the color of what the team originally was based around, fans would still support it because the colors represent the Redskins, even though the name is no longer there. So yeah, it would be hard to get over, but as long as you have some remnants of the old name, of the old team history, fans are still going to support it. Yeah, they'll be upset that the team name is no longer there, but they'll still support the team because at least there's some remnants of the old team. A good example in the NFL is the Tennessee Titans. When the Houston Oilers went to Tennessee, for the first year or so, they were the Tennessee Oilers. Then they changed the name to the Titans. But here's the thing. They could have changed the colors completely and been a whole new different team. But they didn't. What did they do? They changed the name, but they changed the name, but they kept the same colors as when they were the Oilers. That's basically giving respect to the history and tradition of who you were before you became who you are now. That's basically paying respect to that tradition and history of the Houston Oilers franchise that basically started who they are, basically was the founding point, the foundation of who the Titans are now, or who the Titans have become in Tennessee, in Nashville, if you will. So again, if the Redskins had to change their names to any of the names I suggested, you know, and as long as they kept the colors of the Redskins, of what they have now, fans will still support them because it's still the same team. It's just that the name and the logo it's just that the team name and logo are gone. They're history. You know, it's kind of like with the Washington Nationals in baseball. The Washington Nationals used to be the Montreal Expos. And look what happened. Montreal went to Washington, and the Washington Nationals, from the beginning up till now, have kept some remnants of the Montreal Expo colors. Some remnants. And why? It's paying respect to that tradition of that tradition of a team. That when it's basically paying respect to that tradition of this as a team in the franchise's history. It's paying respect to it because it started in Montreal and now it's continuing in Washington. See what I'm saying? The point is, folks, yeah, it's kind of stupid to want to take away almost nearly 90 years, almost 100 years of history because some Native American tribes and other people out there, politicians, whatever, find the name Redskins offensive. But on the other hand, even if they had to do it, as long as they kept the colors of that team, even if they had to change the name, as long as they kept the colors of the team, or kept the team colors, even if they had to change the name of the logo, fans would still support them. They would still support them in many ways. You know, it's kind of like with the Minnesota North Stars. When Minnesota lost the North Stars to Dallas, they were the Dallas North Stars for a while. I think, just for maybe a season or so, and then they became the Dallas Stars, and guess what? They kept the colors that they had in Minnesota. And why? To pay respect from where they came from. You know, there's a lot of teams that have moved around in the NHL. I can't think of some right now. That have moved out of Canada into the United States and vice versa. But when they've moved, yes, they've changed their names, the team names and logos to match the city they're in. But they've always kept the same colors of the team they originally were when they were in Canada somewhere. You know what I'm saying? They kept that name. They kept those colors going to pay respect, to pay respect to that tradition. You see, the point is, folks, you know, we may not like the fact that people are talking about changing the name of a franchise because it offends some people. I'm not saying that if they wanted to name them, like what Jeff Siegel said, if they wanted to name them something like the Washington Caucasians or the Washington Honkers, that someone like me being half white wouldn't be offended, or the Washington Wetbacks being half Latino. Would I be offended? Perhaps. You know, I'm half white and half Latino, so I can be easily offended either way. You know, if they wanted to name the team one of those names. I could be. But I wouldn't be. Because I would understand it's best for business. It's like if they said, okay, let's name them, let's give them the N-word for a team mascot name. Well, let's give them some kind of name that implies the slavery, you know, the race that's racial to black people, like something based around slavery in the 1800s. Do you think people, you do not think that wouldn't offend black people? Of course it would. Of course it would offend them. But if it was something that, yeah, kind of gave a nod to what that was in the 1800s, but it was just, you know, but if they came out and said, hey, it's just for business, it's just a name, it's just for the team, perhaps there would be an understanding, perhaps not. But again, you would have some people that would be offended by it, and you would have some that wouldn't be offended by it. Just like I said, if somebody said, hey, let's name the Washington Caucasians, or the Washington KKKs, or the Washington, you know, honkies, or the Washington rednecks, you know, if someone decided to do that, yeah, there'd be some people that would be offended by it, but then there would be some that wouldn't be offended by it, because they know it's just a name. The point is, again, I'm trying to say, as ridiculous as it sounds, as ridiculous as debating whether or not you want to change a traditional powerhouse name, if you will, in the Redskins, the Washington Redskins, a traditional NFL team since the beginning, just because nowadays the name offends people, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You know? And to me, even if they had to change it, like I said, as long as they kept the colors of the team, even if you had to change the name and the name and the logo, as long as you kept the colors, people would still support them because the colors would remind them of who they traditionally were. Like I said, it's the same with the Titans. Titans were the Oilers. They were the Oilers in Tennessee for a year. Then they went to Titans, but they kept the team colors of the Oilers. You know what I'm saying? You see, even Baltimore Ravens, before the Cleveland Browns made a return to Cleveland, or brought back to Cleveland, when Baltimore would do, like, say, a throwback to Jersey deal, whatever it was, Baltimore would dress up as the Cleveland Browns to pay respect to that tradition, because that's who they originally were. They were the original Browns. And now you got the new Browns. Get what I'm saying? The point is, folks, I don't think they should change the name because some people are offended by it. If you got a majority of Native American tribes that support it, that are okay with it, then why change it? It's a tradition that's been going on for 90 years. Why change it after 90 years? It makes no sense whatsoever. Again, though, I can understand, like everybody else has mentioned, I do agree and understand that it does offend people. I'm not going to say that. But here's the thing, if it offends them so much, why didn't they do something about it years ago? Or decades ago? Years or decades ago, why didn't they do something about it then? Because they know, even though it's offensive, it's not as offensive as they think. I mean, they also know that even if they wanted to vote on it to be changed, that their vote would be basically outnumbered by the votes of people that want to keep it the way it is. Even if you did a vote between the Native American tribes that support it and don't support it, the Native American tribes that support it would overshadow those that want to change. Again, folks, it's just, to me, I understand both ways. I understand it offends people. I can understand and respect that. Because I would probably feel the same way if somebody was to name a team with a name that would offend my race, even though I have two races, even though I have multiple races in me, majority being half white, half Mexican. You know, even if, like I said, even if someone, I can understand where they're coming from, because yeah, I might be offended a little bit if, let's say, they decided to give them a name that was a racial name a racial name based around Latinos or whites. I would be a little offended. I would be. But I wouldn't let it get to me that much. I wouldn't go out and say, oh, well, you need to change it because it's offensive. No, I'd be like, yeah, it's offensive, I may not like it, but you know what, that's their decision. They want to give them that name, that's their decision. Just like it was 90 years ago when they decided to go and call them the Redskins in Boston. It was their decision. And if after 90 years you feel it's offensive, again, if you felt it's been offensive for 90 years, why didn't you change it decades ago? That's my question. So, again though, it's just my take on this is just my opinion and take on should the Washington Redskins change their name or not. And like I said, either way, it's up to those that want to keep it or make it either way. It's up to whoever wants to keep the name going or just change it because they don't want to be offensive to anybody. And again, like I said, even if they change it, as long as they keep the team colors, which is basically paying tradition and respect to the Redskins history, even if they change it to, let's say, the Washington Sailors or the Washington, the Washington Angels, or whatever you want to call them. As long as they kept they kept the team colors, if you will. As long as they kept some kind of, or even the Washington Cougars, if you will. Even if they changed their names, as long as they had some reminiscing, as long as they kept the team colors, which would basically still indicate who they once were, team-wise, name-wise, fans will still support them, even though they may be upset with the team name change. So, That's just my take on it. Let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like. Video responses appreciated. And I'll talk to you later, but that's just my take on it.